All right, everybody, get ready because we're taking a deep dive into some local news you shared from the SCDN website. And it's all about these grants, these recent grants that have been awarded in your county. And it seems like everybody's talking about them and for good reason.
Well, local grants, they're really fascinating, aren't they? They're like a treasure map to a community's priorities. They really reveal a lot about what the community values and where they're headed.
Oh, I love that, the treasure map.
Yeah.
And speaking of treasure, you sent over 3 articles, and each one highlights a significant chunk of change. One is going to give New Boston and Otway a much-needed $1 million boost for flood control. Another one is going to pump $750,000 into New Boston for some exciting quality of life improvements. Think pickleball courts, a brand new walking trail, even some shiny new welcome signs.
Oh, wow. Those all sound fantastic. I mean, those projects sound like they're really going to make a tangible difference in people's lives. It's so nice to see communities investing in spaces that foster well-being and a sense of belonging like that.
Absolutely. But, okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The third grant, a cool $82,000, is for an environmental assessment of the county courthouse. Now, I don't know about you, but when I saw redevelopment in that article alongside historic courthouse, my ears kind of perked up.
Oh, yeah. I can understand why. For those of us who aren't fluent in government speak, redevelopment, it can sometimes feel like a euphemism, especially when you're talking about older structures, especially those that are steeped in history. It often makes people wonder if a sale or, even demolition might be on the table.
Exactly. And the SCDN reporters, they clearly picked up on that kind of undercurrent of concern. They went straight to the source, the county commissioners, and they just flat out asked, is the county considering selling the courthouse? I have to hand it to them. They just cut right to the chase.
Yeah, and that's what makes local journalism so vital. They're the ones who are willing to ask those questions that, citizens, everyday citizens might hesitate to ask, and it ensures transparency and most importantly, it holds those in power accountable.
Yeah.
So, what did these commissioners have to say for themselves?
Well, they didn't mince words, I'll tell you that. They basically said, absolutely not. We love that old building. It seems like selling it is the furthest thing from their mind.
Well, that's certainly reassuring for folks who consider that courthouse, a cornerstone of their community's identity. But it also highlights why it's so crucial to delve deeper than just the headline.
Oh, you are preaching to the choir. That's why we're doing this deep dive, right? So let's unpack what this environmental assessment actually means. According to the article, it's mainly about addressing asbestos abatement in the courthouse.
Ah, asbestos, the unwelcome guest in many a grand old building.
Yeah, it seems like asbestos is just something you got to kind of expect with these older buildings.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to, that's for sure.
You got that right. And, asbestos removal, that's serious business. It requires a lot of careful planning, specialized expertise. This initial grant, the one for the environmental assessment, it suggests that the county commissioners are taking those first steps, right, to address a potential health hazard and ensure that that courthouse, it remains safe, usable for the long haul.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense than, what some folks were initially afraid of, like a potential sale or demolition.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're really moving towards preserving this historic landmark.
It really does. And, it showcases how crucial follow-up reporting is. Instead of just reporting on the grant itself, the SCDN reporters, they dug deeper, right? They asked those tough questions. And I think most importantly, they clarified the commissioner's intentions for the courthouse. This kind of transparency, that's what can prevent misinformation from spreading and reassure residents that their concerns are actually being heard.
It's local journalism in action, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm starting to see a theme here. Remember that first grant we talked about, the one for flood control in New Boston and Otway? Well, that also kind of speaks to the county's commitment to, protecting its communities and ensuring their well-being.
Oh, absolutely. It's all interconnected. These grants, they provide this fascinating snapshot of how local governments prioritize resources and address the needs of their constituents. We've got flood control, which, directly impacts public safety. Then there's that courthouse grant that tackles both historical preservation and public health. And finally, well,
We can't forget about those pickleball courts.
Yeah.
New Boston's getting, quote, the upgrade with that $750,000 investment.
Mm-hmm.
New pickleball courts, a walking trail. Sounds like they're going all out to create a more vibrant, inviting public space.
and let's not underestimate the power of recreation and leisure in fostering a strong community. These quality of life enhancements, they can have these ripple effects. They can encourage physical activity, social interaction, and even, a sense of local pride.
It really is amazing how much insight we can get from something as, seemingly mundane as local grant announcements. But when you really, connect the dots, these grants tell a story about a community that values its history, prioritizes the safety and well-being of its residents, and, recognizes the importance of fostering spaces for people to connect and thrive.
Precisely. And, this deep dive, it highlights the crucial role local news plays and, illuminating these connections for us. By, digging deeper, asking the right questions, and providing context, local journalists, like those at the SCDN, they empower us to be more informed and engaged citizens.
They give us the tools to understand the decisions being made in our communities and, even start conversations about our own priorities and aspirations for the future. So as we, delve further into these grants and their implications, I'm kind of curious, what are your initial thoughts on all of this? What stands out to you the most?
What stands out to me is how proactive the county commissioners seem to be in addressing the needs of their community. They're tackling essential infrastructure with flood control, demonstrating a commitment to public safety. They're investing in quality of life enhancements like pickleball courts and walking trails, recognizing the importance of recreation and community spaces. And they're taking steps to preserve the historic courthouse, a tangible link to the community's past. It paints a picture of a local government that's engaged, responsive, and forward-thinking.
It's refreshing to see, isn't it? And it's a good reminder that even small-scale local news, like these grant announcements, can reveal a lot about the bigger picture if you know where to look. But here's the thing. None of this would be possible without diligent local journalists like those at the SCDN connecting the dots for us.
100%. They're the ones attending those meetings, poring over documents and asking the tough questions. They're like our eyes and ears in the often complex world of local government.
They really are. Imagine if those SCDN reporters hadn't dug a little deeper into that courthouse grant. We might still be operating under the assumption that the Fam County was looking to sell it off.
Exactly. And that's a perfect example of why local journalism is so vital. It's not just about reporting the news, it's about providing context, clarifying complex issues, and holding those in power accountable.
It's about ensuring that residents have access to accurate, reliable information so they can make informed decisions about their community.
Well said. And it's a two-way street. Just as local journalists have a responsibility to inform, citizens have a responsibility to stay informed.
That's a great point. So as we wrap up this deep dive into your local grants, I want to leave you with a little something to ponder. We've seen how these grants reflect the priorities of your community, from public safety and historical preservation to recreation and quality of life. But what resonates most with you?
Perhaps this has sparked some questions of your own. What projects or initiatives would you like to see funded in your community? What steps can you take to make your voice heard and contribute to shaping the future of your own neck of the woods?
Remember, an informed community is a strong community. So stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep into the issues that matter to you. Until next time.